Hey everyone, welcome back. So our focus in this video will be a Python IDE, a integrated development environment. So what exactly an integrated development environments are? So if you want to write Python code, obviously you can write inside the Notepad also. You can write any other default editors are available inside, either if you are using a Linux machine or a Mac machine or a Windows machine, you can always use it and supply those particular source code file directly to the Python interpreter, and interpreter will just compile it and indirectly execute inside the Python virtual machine. But this particular IDE, integrated development environment, that will boost your productivity. So a lot of features like a syntax highlighting, code completion, and there are many other features like a profiling, maybe debugger, and a lot of other things are already pre-bundled with this IDE. So our focus in this video to learn about what are the different options are available if you are a Python programmer, what are the ways you can write your program. So as an absolute beginner, if you just install a Python, by default you can always start running command line prompt. So directly from the command line prompt you can start writing your Python program. Obviously, as a programmer or as a starter in a programming language, you can always start with, but that is not always a good choice. So other types of things which is available like a IDLE. So when you install the Python, by default there is a one small, or I would say a very lightweight version of IDE is available like a IDLE. So all those IDE and editors which are available, we are going to see in this video. So if you want to go little bit one step ahead like a editor, so Sublime text or a VSCode Atom editor, you can always use it. And if you are an experienced developer, you can always go ahead with a much higher level functionalities available for the Python coding, like a full-fledged Python integrated development environment, PyCharm, or maybe little lighter versions are available like a Spyder. And at the end, we have a notebooks kind of IDEs also available. So in a recent times, because of this data science, machine learning, data analysis related field, this kind of IDE is also very much famous for the analysis purpose in a Python. So in this video, we are going to see majority of all those IDE, how to download it, install it on your local machine, and we'll see how to start or how to get started with your first hello world program inside those IDE. Alright, so without much further ado, let's just get started. So I am inside the browser. Let me first go to a python.org website. So now you can see I'm going to welcome to python.org. So when you download a very basic versions of Python, like from the python.org website, it is already installed on my machine, so I'm not going to install it again, but you can very simply install it like as of recording this video, this Python 3.8.5 version is available. And if you are a Mac user or a Linux user also, you can easily install it. Although with Mac and a Linux, by default, they will bundle this Python version also. But if you install this way, you will get a very lightweight version of IDEs also available. But before diving into that one, once let's say if you are already installed the Python, you can just directly go to command line. Now if you are using the Windows machine, you can just type CMD on your run command, and from here you can just start like a Python. Here you have already entered into a Python interpreter, or I would say Python cell, where you can write the valid Python code. Now don't get confused, I have already number of Python versions are already installed, so that is like a Conda based version installed on my machine. So if you are already installed with some other Python distribution, the text appear will be little bit different, but don't worry, you are already entered into a Python environment. Next thing is we can simply write here a Python code. Let's say 5 plus 6 will be 11. So this way you can always start working and write your Python code. But then once you install the Python from this python.org website, what you can do from the command line prompt, you can just search for IDLE. Now if you are using the Linux machine or a Mac machine, you can go to terminal and you can always do all those stuff. If you are using the Windows machine, you can go to command line prompt, and you can see from the IDLE, I am entering into a cell. Now in your case might be this particular font may be little smaller, so if you want to increase it, you can go to option, configure your IDE, and you can change all those setting. Now here also I am entered into Python shell, just like what we did from the command line prompt. But now I'm going to write here a simple code. Let's say print hello, and let me just run it. So you can see there is syntax highlighting here. So print is like a function got highlighted with different color, and then we have a brackets which got highlighted with a different colors, and we have a this string got highlighted with a different color, and even output also. So that is the beauty here. Compared to those command line prompt shell, this Python shell is way better, which is already bundled when you install this Python from the python.org. Alright, so this way you can write. But suppose if you want to write a full-fledged Python file, so you can just simply go to Python and create a new file like this one. Let me write the same Python. Let's say hello from idle. Alright, let me just save it. Now when you save the file, you have to save it with a .py extension. So let me go to, let's say, desktop, and I have already one hello.py file. I'm just going to override it. Alright, now I want to execute this particular file. So there are two ways we can go ahead. Like I can go to command line prompt like this one. Let's say, let me go to a desktop, and on desktop I can just simply type like a Python. It will be a hello.py, and you can see I got the output like a hello from idle. So that works fine. But if you want to execute the same file directly from the idle environment, you can just simply click on run and run module, or there is a shortcuts are available like a F5. So let me just run F5, and you can see on a Python shell, it has executed this particular file from this desktop hello.py, and I got immediate output. So that is how easily you can start with the already pre-bundled IDEs available inside the Python installation, all along with the basic Python installation. Alright, so that is all about the very simple way to get started with. Now we are going to go with the next level IDE. I want particularly called as a IDE, a full-fledged integrated development environment, but then we have a lot of better version of notepads are available. So apart from very simple like this notepad, which is a by default version of notepad is available on our Windows machine, and if you are using the Linux machine or a Mac machine, there are some default editors for the writing text is available. But before that, let me just close it and let's just start for another kinds of editor. So I'm going to show you with one example IDE like Sublime text. Among the Sublime text, then we have Atom editor, we have a VSCode. VSCode is one of my favorite ones. So I'm going to show you the example for the Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, you can consider it like an advanced version of Notepad, where you can install the extension and everything. Lot of syntax highlighting, syntax auto completion, code auto completion, and lot of other features also will be included. So rather than writing your code directly in a Notepad, that will be a much better option. Now to install this Visual Studio Code, that is by the Microsoft. So thanks to Microsoft, first time Microsoft has done a great job actually as far as IDE is concerned. You can proceed towards the download, and based on your respective host operating system, you can select either Windows version. If you are using the Debian or Ubuntu, you can use this Deb version, or Red Hat, Fedora and SUSE, you can just download this RPM version. And for this is for the Mac user. Then the installation process is quite similar and straightforward. Just put a couple of times next and it will install in your local machine. Now in my case, it is already installed. So I'm just going to start menu. Let me just search for Visual Studio Code. Alright. So Visual Studio Code is already open, and you can see I have already opened earlier this hello.py file. So it's already open in my case. So what I'm going to do, let me create a new file, or let's just keep this file as it is, and I'm just going to change the hello from, let's say, VSCode. Alright. Now how we can execute it. So in case of Visual Studio Code, there is a best shortcuts are available like a Control Alt P. in case of Visual Studio Code, there is a best shortcuts are available like a Control Shift P, and all those options will be appear. Now just type what you want to do. So let's say I want to increase the font. So just focus upon font. So font, zoom in. Let me increase little bit more. So again I am just typing Control Shift P and zoom in. So again font got increased. That is the same way. Let's say I want to install the Python version. Now don't focus upon this terminal. The terminal I just open it from here, terminal and a new terminal. So just like a Windows PowerShell based terminal already open. So everything you can do directly from here also. Next thing is we need to have a Python extension should be involved. Now to install the Python extension, we can directly go to on a left hand side. There is a one tab is available like a extension, or you can just type shortcuts like a Control Shift X and just search for Python. Now in my case, I have already installed this default version of Python. So you can see this part is already installed in my case. So it's already installed, and that's why all those highlighting part code completion also appears here. So suppose I want to import some sys module and it's already appear. So here this is the like a reserved keyword. This is like a module, and whatever suggestion it was giving, that is like a code completion. So that is the beauty compared to Notepad kind of editor we have available. For such a kind of advanced editors are available, and this is one of my favorite one. The next thing is after you install this Python, it may happen that this VSCode, Visual Studio Code, cannot understand where your Python got installed. So in such a case, what you can do, you can just simply type Control Shift P again and just search for Python interpreter or select Python interpreter. So in that case, you can just select it, and all those Python version which is already installed on your machine, you can just select it. Now in my case, there are a lot of Python versions are already installed, so it has automatically detected those version, and they are saying that while execution of your program, which particular Python version or which particular Python installation you want to take into consideration. Now in my case, I just selected this Anaconda. So let me just continue with this Anaconda. If you have a basic Python installation, you can always select from here. Alright, now next thing is there is another, it has automatically suggested like a linter. So all those Python syntax wise error and everything will be automatically get suggested. Now that is the beauty here, that there are lots of extensions are available to make your life easy while doing the Python programming. But still it has a lot of lacking compared to a full-fledged Python IDE, which we are going to see next, like a PyCharm. Before that, let me show you how you can run this file. So the very first thing what you can do, just right click and run Python file in a terminal. And now you can see I have already selected this Conda based environment. So first it has activated those Conda environment. Next thing is it has executed this hello.py file from this particular python.exe file, and it has executed and gives us the result here. Alright, so that is the idea behind a Visual Studio Code. And same way you can use the other editors like Atom editor also and a Sublime text editor also. Everything almost works the same way. Maybe all editors varies from shortcut to shortcut, and maybe some functionality will be differ, but the idea behind all those kinds of editors are like you can have an advanced version of Notepad or a Notepad++ you can say. Alright, so that is the story of editors. Now we are going to go towards the full-fledged IDE, or I would say a complete Python development environment, and which is also one of the industry standard for the Python development. Before that, let me just close this Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to PyCharm. So PyCharm is the IDE for the professional developer. So those who are experienced developer, those who are making code for the very scalable application, those who are dealing with the thousands of files, I would highly suggest you to use this IDE. Now this particular IDE is available in 2 version, and it is being developed by one of the industry leader in developing such a kind of IDEs like a JetBrains. So that is available for all 3 major operating systems. So if you are a Mac user or a Linux user, don't need to worry that it is only available for the Windows. It is available for all 3. So no need to worry. Now it has all those versions are available, like a professional version and community based version. So we are going to go with the community based version, and that's pure for the Python development only. If you need even more extra feature, you can always go ahead with a professional. Now if you just download it, that is close to around 300 megabytes, and installation is also quite simple and straightforward. So what I'm going to do, in my case it is already installed on my machine, so let me just type start menu and just search for PyCharm, and you can see its PyCharm is already available. Let me just click on it and it will start on my machine. So I have already PyCharm Community Edition 2020.1. Now there is no project already created in my case, so it is asking me whether you want to open some existing project or you want to create some new project, or you can even directly get the project from the some version control like a Git or Mercurial or maybe Subversion. So I'm going to create a new project. Let me provide some name, and by default they have path like a C drive, user, your username, and PyCharm projects. Let's say my first Py projects. Alright, now next thing is they are asking us to create a new virtual environment, or you want to use the existing interpreter. Now in our case it has not automatically detected any particular interpreter, so that's okay. I'll show you what to do with that. But there are 2 options are available, like a virtual environment. Now virtual environment is a concept related to how you want to differentiate your one application to another application, so that one application do not affect the another application. Let's say in one application you are running with a Python 3.6, and the next version or next application you are running with a Python 3.8, and you don't want to mash up anything between those versions. So what you can do, you can create your one project with a different virtual environment and another project with another virtual environment. Now here we are just going to make a very simple hello world kind of application, so we do not need to worry about it. Otherwise you can always select this new environment. Now here also new environment you can use or create with 3 different ways, like a virtual env, pip env, and we have a conda base. Now conda is nothing but the anaconda distribution for the Python. So through conda base also you can create your new virtual environment, and as per those virtual environment library install, you can go ahead for the further development. Now I'm going to go with the existing interpreter. Now they are saying that there is no interpreter already selected, because Python should understand that, or sorry, actually PyCharm should understand that where your Python got installed. So in this particular case it has not automatically detected this interpreter, so I'm just going to select this triple dot, and from triple dot you can see I am going to select this system interpreter. Now in my case there are number of, as I told earlier also, Python is already installed. So one of them will be anaconda 3 python.exe, but I can always browse and point to another Python installation. So I'm just going to continue with this Python 3 or anaconda 3 python.exe. Alright, so you can see it has automatically connected. Let me create a new projects, and now you can see it's a full-fledged IDEs available. At a very start it will always give you some kind of tips, so I'm just closing those tips. If you are a beginner you can always follow along those tips. Alright, and you can see the new project got created. Now here there are a number of ways you can display your projects, like a project file, like a complete full-fledged project. Let me create a new file. So from this my first Py project you can right click, new, and Python file. Let me provide some Python file name. Let's say here also hello.py, or I don't think we require any .py extension, it will automatically take care. Before that let me just fix it, impacting your build. That's okay. What action? Don't show me again. Yeah. So let me write here print. So fonts are very small, so what we can do, I have written very simple print hello from, let's say, PyCharm. That's perfectly fine. Now how I can execute it? So that's very simple. Just right click on a file and run file in a Python console. Allow. First time it will ask the granted. And you can see on a bottom, it has executed this hello.py file for us and immediately given us the output. Now this particular IDE is like a complete full-fledged IDE. So here also there are features are available like you can see code completion, and still no suggestion they have given because results might be incomplete while indexing is progress. So there are a lot of Python documentation. This PyCharm IDE is a indexing, so it will take little time, but don't worry about it. It will be taken care automatically. But apart from that, there are a lot of other things I want to show you here. So you can see there are options like so there are options like a debug. So you can always debug your code. You can always profile your code. You can refactor your code. So something like if you are changing some variable name and you want those variable name to get affected across your thousands of different Python file, it will work that way. Yes, so now you can see it started giving the suggestion like import. Let's say I have a library like a numpy. Let's say np. So I have already installed this numpy library as a part of this Anaconda distribution. So let me just run it again and let's see whether those libraries are available or not. Alright, so it's working fine, no error given. That means NumPy is already part of our Anaconda distribution. We have a code navigation functions are available. We have from edit lot of things you can do it, but there is one standard functions are available from the setting. Everything you can always do it. So there is like one thing key map. So there are lots of shortcuts are available. You can always search directly from the key map. There is appearance, you can always change it. So currently in my case the themes are Darkula. You can always change the theme based on your personal preference. What are the menus you want to show it, or some of the menus you want to disable it. We have editor level options are available. So just search font. So if you want to increase, let's say font, let me just make it 18 or maybe let's say 24. That's perfectly fine. We have a color schemas are available. We have version control related stuffs are available. So everything you can always change it directly from here. File setting. But this is like a god of the Python, I would say. Here you can do everything in a Python. Either you can do machine learning or eventually Python is going to execute all those code. But for the development wise, your productivity will drastically increase. And that is what the idea behind this PyCharm IDE. So for now, I'm just closing this one. As and when you have a more and more practice related to such a kind of IDE, you will get a more and more option, and that will improve definitely your productivity. The another full-fledged IDE I just want to show you, that is nothing but a Spyder. Now I won't consider that is like a full-fledged IDE, but compared to those editor which we have seen earlier like a Visual Studio Code or maybe Sublime Text, that is much at a higher level and a more functionality it will provide us. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to search for Spyder. Now in my case, I have already installed this Anaconda distribution. So along with the Anaconda distribution, by default this Spyder IDE got installed. And if it is Spyder IDE is not installed in your machine, you can just search for Spyder Python installation. And with this pip installation, you can always install this Spyder IDE. So there is one package manager tools are available. So I'm not sure whether, so from here you can download it and install it. So this is the Spyder IDE. Spyder IDE. So you can see here also there are a lot of other features are available. On a left hand side, we have a full-fledged source code. We can write it on the same line. If you want to, let's say, execute it, just select this line and control enter. Automatically those particular line will get executed right as on a right hand side Python cell. Now moment, let's say I'm just going to create variable name like a is equal to 2. So one variable got created. So you can see on a top right corner we have a variable explorer and one variable got created. we have a help topics are available, we have a current working directory. So a lot of other things also you can do it. I'm not telling that Spyder is full-fledged like a PyCharm IDE, but it is having a much better and a much greater more and more functionality compared to those standard editor. And this is also part of Anaconda distribution. So along with the Anaconda distribution with a Python installation, by default it will bundle it. Alright, so let me just close this Spyder IDE also. So next one will be our last series of IDE, integrated development environment. Nowadays, all those data people, generally data scientists, machine learning people, data analysis, those who do model building, they generally use it. So that will be a Jupyter notebook, and its online version of Jupyter notebook will be nothing but Google Colab. So before that, let's go to Jupyter.org website. So you can see this Jupyter is also, when you install complete Anaconda distribution, by default it will be installed. Now if you want to explicitly install based on your basic installation of Python, you can use the very simple pip install Jupyter. Now in my case, I have already installed this Anaconda, so I can just simply go to command line prompt. If you are using the Linux machine or a Mac machine, you can go to the terminal after installation of Anaconda. So let me just search for Jupyter space notebook, and it will open a brand new Jupyter notebook file, or not new file, but it has just now listed down from my current working directory what are the files and folders are available. Now here I can create from new Python 3, and let me just write a very simple one, print hello. Let me make font little bigger. Alright, now here the idea here is that not to write a full-fledged production ready code directly inside the Jupyter notebook, but when you are doing some kind of experimentation, you can always go ahead with such a kind of IDE, because every time moment you write such a kind of code, you can easily execute it, and immediately on a bottom you will get a result. So mostly machine learning people, those model building people, data scientists, they generally use such a kind of IDE. From here you can always change the notebook name. Let's say some test one I am giving. I can here write a multi-line code also. So let's say I'll just writing a is equal to 1, and let me just print a. So it will be a 1. Now I have just made a shortcut, so don't get confused. Either you can select the individual cell and click on run, or you can just directly select the cell and shift enter. Alright, apart from that, there are a lot of other things you can do with this IDE. You can periodically it will do the saving of your file. You can download your existing file in varieties of different formats, like a .py file, and then we have a .pdf file, .py file, and a lot of ways you can do it. You can even copy paste cell, you can move your shell. If you want to insert some cell, if you want to run some cell, or if you want to run all the cell at a one shot. If you want to change the kernel, you want to restart your kernel, you want to shut down your kernel, you can always do it from here. And there is a one great help documentations are available. So from here, there are a lot of keyboard shortcuts are available related to Jupyter IDE. So all those machine learning and data scientist people, they generally use it. Now, there is an advanced version of this IDE Google has already created in their cloud laboratory. So let me just search for Colab. Just search for Colab and it will redirect to colab.research.google.com. So there is a online version of such a kind of IDEs are available, which is highly connected, correlated with existing Google product also, like a Google Drive or maybe GitHub. So here you will get a free computational resource. You do not need to worry about your own computational resource. You do not need to worry about any kind of installation. You should have just a Google account. Now, once you have a Google account, you can go to google.research.google.com and create your first notebook file. And this notebook file is also exactly similar to Jupyter Notebook, but it has a way more extra functionality. So first of all, there is not any resource you are using. You are using the Google's resource, so you do not need to worry. As far as your experiment is a small scale level, you can always use this Google Colab environment. Apart from that, there are number of data science, machine learning, and maybe web development related library already pre-bundled, pre-installed inside this Google Colab environment. So let me just create a new file. So from file, I am just going to create a new notebook, and it will create a brand new notebook in my online version or inside my Google account. Alright, and you can see, let me just change the Colab name. So Colab 1 I'm just going to give. Now I have already created a complete playlist for this Google Colab, like how to interact with a Google Colab, what is the advantage Google Colab is giving, how you can run your code, how you can execute the external file, or how you can import data from varieties of different sources and put it into a Google Colab environment. Like if you want to import data from your local machine, or you want to import data from the Google Drive or from the GitHub account, how you can do it. So first of all, when you create, you have to connect it. So moment you connect, Google will allocate some hardware resources for you, some CPU, some RAM, some hard disk, it will allocate to you. You can see it started initializing and connected. So there are two kinds of cell, always you can write it. Although I'm not going into much detail about it, it's like a Jupyter notebook only. Let me write a very simple print from Colab. Alright, let me just run it. Now here running means same control enter will work or a shift enter will work, or you can just click on this particular icon also. From the runtime, you can always change the runtime. Now here there is one more biggest advantage Google is giving. If you are running a very high computational related any kind of computation, in that case you require a GPU, especially machine learning, deep learning related algorithm computation. So in that case, Google is providing you a free GPU and a TPU support. So for the small scale experiment like a 12 hours idle time, you can always use it, and there is a pro version of Google Colab is also available. Apart from that, there is a usual options are available like inserting text cell. So here all those markdown cell you can write it, and there is a very nice full-fledged feature rich text editor is available for you. So this is heading, and I'm just going to select the very first one. So the first level heading will appear. You can see always preview here before execution of your code. So you can see, so this way you can even write the comments also. You can write a full-fledged notebook kind of file. You can always share your notebook with others also. You can save this notebook on a Google Drive. You can save it in a GitHub file, GitHub account also, and you can even download it in a .py or a .ipynb file for your local storage. Alright, so as I told, I have already created a complete playlist for the Google Colab environment. I'll just put a link for that particular playlist into description. And I'm just ending this video with that. We have seen in this video a lot of IDEs and how to get started with those IDE, like either IDE, PyCharm, Spyder IDE for the machine learning and a data scientist people, this Jupyter notebook and a Colab environment. And there is a Visual Studio Code, one of my favorite one for the advanced version of Notepad kind of IDE. Alright, so that is all about the story behind what are the IDEs generally Python developer do use at a different stages of their Python development cycle, like if they are a beginner or intermediate or an advanced user in a Python development work. Alright, so that is all about this video. I hope you enjoy listening this video, and see you into next video with some more cool stuff related to Python, data science and machine learning. So till that time, please do like, comment and subscribe my channel.